Let's talk perception, because a studio space isn't just functional. It tells your clients, suppliers, and collaborators that you are established, trustworthy, and in this for the long game. It becomes part of your brand story. Clients are walking into your curated environment. They're experiencing your process before you even open your mouth. And that elevates everything: your confidence, your pricing, and your position in the market. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Thursday episode of the Design Dialogues podcast. And I wanted to just start by saying a big thank you for tuning in. Whether you're on your morning walk, in the car between site visits, or grabbing a quiet moment with your coffee, I'm really glad you're here. Today's episode is all about one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make as your studio grows: when to move out of your home office and into a dedicated studio space. It's a move that feels exciting, intimidating, expensive, and for many of us, deeply emotional. So let's have a think about it. Let's be honest, working from home has its perks. You're in comfy clothes, coffee is always on hand, and it can feel incredibly efficient until it isn't. There comes a moment where the dining table setup or that spare bedroom studio just doesn't support the business you're building anymore. Maybe you're starting to feel scattered, struggling to separate home life from work life, or finding that client meeting in cafes no longer match the professionalism of your work. The emotional shift here is real. You're not just moving locations, you're stepping into a new identity as a business owner, one who is investing in space, presence, and scale. And that brings up big questions around confidence, money, team, and what kind of studio you're creating. So how do you know if it's time? Here are some of the biggest signals I've seen, both from my own experience and from mentoring designers through the health check. You're constantly rearranging or working around home life. Whether it's kids, deliveries, pets interrupting, your environment is no longer serving your workflow. You feel limited in how you present your business. You hesitate to host client meetings because it doesn't feel professional enough. You're hiring or planning to hire, and your team doesn't have a central functional space to collaborate or work from. You want to create a brand experience. Your physical space should reflect your aesthetic, your process, and the kinds of clients you want to attract. If you're nodding along, then it's probably time to start exploring the next step. Here's the reality check. Studio space isn't cheap. And it's not just rent, it's internet, utilities, furniture, fit out, insurance, cleaning, and so on. The list is long. And so how do you budget for this without overcommitting? I always recommend looking at this decision through the lens of revenue per square meter. What will this space help you generate? Could it allow you to bring on another team member, raise your fees, or streamline your workflow so you take on more projects with less stress? Let's talk perception, because a studio space isn't just functional. It tells your clients, suppliers, and collaborators that you are established, trustworthy, and in this for the long game. It becomes part of your brand story. Clients are walking into your curated environment. They're experiencing your process before you even open your mouth. And that elevates everything: your confidence, your pricing, and your position in the market. If you're planning to grow your team, having a studio can be a game changer. It creates clear boundaries. Work is work and home is home. It allows for collaboration in real time, which is essential for creative businesses. And perhaps most importantly, it creates a studio culture, one where people feel proud to come in, aligned with your values, and invested in the long-term success of your business. However, just be mindful, if you are moving from having everyone working remotely to now having an office space that you are wanting people to come into. Think about that transition. Think about how you balance hybrid options or create a workspace that people genuinely want to be in. So here's a few practical tips for making the leap from home office to studio space. Start small. You don't need 100 square meters in the trendiest suburb. A small, well-located, beautifully styled space can be incredibly impactful. Think about your client flow. Make sure the space accommodates how clients will interact with you, from parking to signage to meeting space. This one is so important. Do a cost-benefit review. Work with your accountant to model out what you can afford now and what your revenue needs to look like to sustain the space for 6, 12, 18 months from now. And get support. If you're in the middle of this decision or just starting to consider it, I want you to know you're not alone. This is a huge step, but it can also be one of the most empowering ones you'll make as a studio owner. And if you're looking for someone to walk through this with you, from crunching numbers to clarifying your vision, make sure your systems can support the shift. That's exactly what I do through the Systems and Processes Health Check. Let's get your studio working for you, not the other way around. Thank you so much for listening to this week's Thursday episode of the Design Dialogues. If you love this conversation, I would love for you to leave a review or share it with a fellow designer who might be dreaming of their own studio space. And I'll see you for our next Design Dialogue. That's it for today's episode. I hope this gave you some fresh ideas and motivation to refine how you run your studio. But here's the thing. Having the right strategies is one thing. Actually implementing them is another. And if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or just unsure where to start, that's exactly what my Systems and Processes Health Check is for. It's a one-on-one deep dive into how your studio runs, pinpointing where things are working, where they're not, and giving you a clear roadmap to streamline your processes. And the thing is, my health check is different from other mentoring out there. We don't just talk, we put together clear, actionable items that I hold you accountable for, because I want to make sure that at the end of the health check, you see a real difference in your business. Imagine having a studio that runs smoothly, where you're in control, and where you can finally focus on the design work that you love. If that sounds like exactly what you need, head to the website to book in your health check today. Thanks for tuning in, and if you found this episode helpful, share it with a fellow designer who could use these insights too. See you for our next Design Dialogue.